Hello there, you're now with me, Hendy Gui, and welcome to TVS Nightline. Let's dive into today's topics. Now, following the increase in the COVID-19 vaccination rate of the adult population in Malaysia, more unrestricted travel will be introduced. The government would allow people to go abroad without having to apply for the My Travel Pass once the vaccination rate reaches 90%.
Ini bila 90% program vaksinasi telah tercapai untuk 2 dos, kita akan membenarkan rakyat kita keluar negara tanpa memohon travel pass. My Travel Pass lagi. Mana My Travel Pass tidak akan digunakan apabila program vaksinasi mencapai 90%. Yang saya jangka
daripada penduduk keseluruhan.
Ya. Kita bukan ambil state by state, tapi keseluruhan.
Meanwhile, interstate travel, which Malaysians have been long awaiting, is in sight. The Prime Minister said that the good news would be announced once the vaccination rate for the adult population reaches 90%.
Malaysia will not compromise with any country if there is a threat in the South China Sea. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob stressed the matter several times in meetings with national representatives as well as at international forums.
Kita tidak akan kompromi dari segi kedaulatan kita.
On the national security and defence industry policy, which is one of the 9 areas focused in the 12 Malaysia Plan 12 MP, he said the issue of security was very important as the country's development would be stunted if there was chaos and insecurity.
Dan sememangnya kajian menumpukan fokus perhatian kepada pertahanan sejak daripada dulu, pertahanan dan keselamatan sejak daripada dulu. Bajet kita pun tahun lepas bertambah berbanding dengan lepas-lepas kerana kedaulatan negara tidak boleh dikompromi.
Ismail Sabri also described Op Benteng, which is led by the Malaysian Armed Forces and assisted by 11 other agencies, had succeeded in preventing the entry of illegal immigrants who may carry COVID-19 in the country. He said the efforts had been strengthened with the addition of 19 border control posts and the constructions of new camps, especially in Sabah and Sarawak.
Now, internet centres located in both remote and urban areas will now be coordinated by the Ministry of Communications and Multimedia, or MCMC, with the launch of the Malaysian Family Digital Centre. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said these centres will be refurbished, enabling more entrepreneurial opportunities to community in both areas.
Kalau lihat dulu di luar bandar pun, kita mempunyai pusat internet.
Ya.
Kementerian Luar Bandar ada pusat internet desa, kita ada pusat internet di bawah Kementerian Penerangan ketika itu. Dan tetapi kita lihat dari segi apa yang dilaksanakan di situ tidak menampakkan kejayaan. Ya, kerana mungkin waktu itu fokus lebih kepada latihan ataupun training tentang penggunaan internet, penggunaan IT itu, penggunaan komputer dan sebagainya. Itu saja. Now saya telah pun dimaklumkan oleh Kementerian Komunikasi bahawa Kementerian Komunikasi akan selaraskan pusat internet di kampung-kampung, di bandar dan sebagainya yang ada di bawah 2-3 kementerian akan diselaraskan oleh KKMM dan akan dilancarkan pusat internet keluarga Malaysia.
Once everything is in place, Ismail hopes it will close the digital gaps not just between rural and urban areas but also between states.
Bawah program Jendela, kita berbelanja sejumlah 7.7 bilion ringgit, iaitu 3.61 bilion ringgit kepada Sabah dan 4.09 ringgit kepada Sarawak. Yang mana dalam masa 2 tahun kita akan pastikan 100% liputan di Sabah dan Sarawak. Dan of course 100% liputan juga di Semenanjung. Jadi kalau dari segi infranya sudah ada internet, maka saya percaya ramai masyarakat luar bandar dan juga bandar yang di bawah B40 boleh terlibat dengan teknologi digital ini.
Recently, Petronas was caught red-handed for awarding a provision of alternative blasting and painting job to a firm based in West Malaysia. President of the Sarawak Petroleum Contractors Association, or SPECA, Datuk Rahman Lariwa, urges the state government to intervene with the matter.
The matter was brought to Rahman's attention from one of the SPECA members who participated in the tender for the provisions of alternative blasting and painting for Petronas Carigali. Contracts granted will cover the provision of equipment, manpower and consumables for the alternative blasting works offshore Sarawak. And according to Rahman, there are many companies based in Sarawak which can provide similar service.
Kerana setakat ini kebanyakan kerja-kerja yang sepatutnya dibuat oleh anak tempatan lebih dengan syarikat yang di luar Sarawak, daripada Semenanjung. Kerja ini memangnya pakar untuk anak-anak Sarawak yang membuat kerja-kerja seperti ini. Walaupun ahli-ahli kami daripada Persatuan Kontraktor Oil and Gas Sarawak ikut serta di dalam tender-tender begini, kami tidak diberi perhatian oleh pihak Petronas.
If there is no intervention by the state government, Rahman said companies involved in the oil and gas industry would face frustration due to the lack of fair treatment from Petronas.
As the country is preparing to transition into the endemic phase with the domestic border gradually opening, the Tourism, Art and Culture Ministry will implement various activities and programs in Sarawak. The tourism sector will be limited to local travellers and specific SOPs will be set for the state tourism sectors.
Share with you, kita mungkin insyaAllah kalau dibenarkan oleh YB lah dan dibenarkan oleh Sarawak lah, we are going to have big events here. Antaranya ialah ini di bawah sokongan kita punya grant sokongan pelancongan seni dan budaya, acara-acara Sarawak yang telah diluluskan dan damai virtual run oleh Sarawak Cultural Village.
Nancy said that discussion is ongoing with State Tourism, Art and Culture Minister Dato' Abdul Karim Rahman Hamzah, in addition to promoting local products and places.
So we are planning big things for Sarawak, tapi bukan kita di Kuching saja, we go to other places juga, tapi not as big as in Kuching lah, because the crowd is there in Kuching. Or the metropolitan is Sarawak, is Kuching lah. So itu yang kita nak share untuk semua. That's why we need to bring in more people to come in the pelancong. Bringing in pelancong means economy for Sarawak.
The Travel Bubble initiative that was first introduced in Langkawi has been a success. Nancy said Langkawi is ready and will accept 15,000 international tourists under the Travel Bubble initiative, adding that this matter will be announced by the National Security Council soon.
So Langkawi is the best model that we had, and insyaAllah Langkawi also will be the first international travel bubble for us. Very soon, coming week, I'll be having some talks with my counterparts from other countries. So we are arranging for that because they are also excited. We have Qatar Airways going to Langkawi. We have China. We have Singapore. There's so many, quite a number of international flights going to Langkawi.
Sarawak Cultural Village, SCV, one of Kuching's top tourist attractions, is preparing to reopen once interstate travel is allowed. SCV, which has been closed for the past year, had been allocated a total 5 million ringgit to refurbish the premise. The budget allocated through the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture, MOTAC, were also given to other states, namely Negeri Sembilan, Terengganu and Melaka.
They are all concerning cultural village. Sebab kita nak promote budaya melalui our cultural village. Tapi Sarawak is the kira role model lah because we already have it. That's why I suggested Sarawak to to start doing whatever work they have to do. Sebab this is part of kita nak tunjuk in terms of hire tourists nanti we need to have a very good infrastructure. Jadi insyaAllah I think Sarawak Cultural Village dah bersedia lah kan. They already ready to do it. Dah ready dah tender semua tu kan. So it's all they have received the grant semua tu.
With the refurbishment of the premise, Nancy said it is expected to see more local and international tourists in Sarawak.
Awal dasar pelancongan negara, kita mahu supaya there will be people sharing dia punya experience to the people. Tak perlu dengan cara lain, they come here, they will talk about it. So kita nak expect orang lebih ramai datang ke mari. To the Sarawak Cultural Village. I tell you, Sarawak Cultural Village has a very good reputation. I think the best in terms of cultural village in the country.
For the reopening of the Sarawak tourism sector, Nancy said the matter will be handled by the minister in charge and other agencies that are involved.
If the tourism sector in Sarawak is to be reopened, a stringent SOP is needed to avoid tourism cluster. However, according to Dr. Abdul Karim Rahman Hamzah, the need to apply police permit for inter-district travel with approval by the State Disaster Management Committee SDMC is seen as unnecessary.
The other one is for you to come in, perlu ada swab dan sebagainya. If you have already gone through 2 vaccination, let them come in. Let them come in. Why must you stop them from coming in? Sama juga dengan inter-district. I have already announced the siasito accommodation and all that, and get this permit about inter-district in Kuching. Police permit, you still need police permit. Kenapa mesti perlu police permit? Perkara-perkara macam inilah yang saya rasa perlu diperhalusi oleh SDMC.
On the matter of children movement in public areas, Karim said it is not a problem as long as they are accompanied by their parents who are fully vaccinated. Additionally, he said the COVID-19 situation will soon be an endemic and the people should live with it.
Now, 9 out of 10 anglers who were feared drowned after their boat reportedly sank in Pulau Satang waters yesterday were found safe early this morning. A Sarawak Fire and Rescue Department spokesman said the 9 anglers were rescued by fishermen near Pulau Satang Besar at around 1 a.m.
So, jadi kita akan terus operasi mencari penyelamat ni sehingga kita temuilah mangsa yang lagi hilang tu. Dan kita yakin dengan bantuan agensi yang terlibat dalam operasi penyelamat ni APM, bomba penyelamat, polis marine akan Jabatan Perikanan kita akan atur gerakkan semua aset yang ada di kawasan sekitar Kuching untuk mengesan mangsa.
Rough sea condition is suspected to be the main factor that caused the boat to sink. Due to the constant weather change, Azman said it is unpredictable and risky for small ships and boats. However, the search for another victim will continue until the 7th day.
Dan saya yakin mangsa ni adalah pembantu tekong, seorang yang berpengalaman yang biasa ke laut. Jadi kita harap dia masih lagi hidup lah. Dan sehingganya petang ni masih lagi belum dapat, kita akan meneruskan operasi ini hingga ke hari yang ke-7 lah. Tapi kita harap akan dapat mengesan mangsa ni.
Meanwhile, Azman revealed that there is yet another boat carrying 5 fishermen reportedly lost at 9.3 nautical miles from Santubong.
Yang bot yang dilaporkan tu, owner dia beritahu sepatutnya dah balik semalam tengah hari, tapi sehingga kini belum lagi kembali. Jadi kita masih menunggulah berkaitan dengan bot ni diberitahu membawa 5 pemancing dan belum ada lagi aduan daripada waris lah yang sama ada mereka ni betul-betul hilang kan, tapi bot tu masih belum balik.
Maritime Rescue Subcenter MRSC has activated a search operation at 7 a.m. this morning after receiving complaints, and assets have also been organized to move to the location of the incident. The boat owner is also in close contact with the maritime team for further updates.
Awak jom pergi salon? Tengah makan lah ni.
Apa kecoh-kecoh tu?
Tak boleh nak berhenti makan lah.
Bukan kau cakap nak diet ke?
Sakit kepala. Nak jumpa doktor.
Gayat lah.
Kucing pun gayat ke?
Malas nak layan.
Pusak setiap Isnin 1.45 petang hanya di TVS saluran 122 Astro dan My TV. Jumpa di sana.
Welcome back. Now, Malaysia's new COVID-19 cases dipped below the 10,000 mark with 9,066 new infections reported today, bringing the cumulative total to 2.27 million. Sarawak topped the list again with 1,480 new infections, followed by Selangor with 1,000 and Johor 981. More recoveries than infections were recorded today at 14,454.
Out of the 9,066 daily cases reported, 159 cases, or 1.8%, are in categories 3, 4 and 5, while the remaining 8,907, or 98.2%, are in categories 1 or 2. No new clusters were recorded in Sarawak today. Meanwhile, 5 clusters have ended, namely Semada Cluster in Serian, Nangga Bengap Cluster, Lubuk Antu, Simpang Bakun Cluster Bintulu, Jalan Market Cluster Bau and Warong Metro City Cluster in Kuching. There are now 102 active clusters in the state, with 3 of the clusters recording 32 new infections. Most of the cases recorded in Sarawak are in categories 1 and 2, with 1,407 or 99.22% reported. The remaining 11 or 0.78% are in category 3, 4 and 5. Kuching District recorded the highest cases at 366, followed by Sibu with 146 and Miri 130. The cumulative number of infections in Sarawak now stands at 215,576. Meanwhile, 12 fatalities due to COVID-19 were reported from 29th September to October 1st.
A total of 47,000 students in Terengganu, Kelantan, Langkawi and Kedah started their physical academic session today. Senior Education Minister Datuk Dr. Razzie Jidin said classes went smoothly and was conducted in compliance with the stipulated SOPs to prevent infection.
Razzie paid a visit to several schools in Terengganu today and said the schools have successfully implemented ventilations emphasized by his ministry previously.
Pengedaran itu berada pada tahap yang optimum. Dan kita lihat juga murid-murid memakai pelitup muka sewaktu mereka berada dalam kelas. Begitu juga dengan guru-guru. Kita sama-sama usahakan dan doakan semoga sesi persekolahan bersemuka ini dapat terus berjalan dengan lancar dan teratur.
He was also satisfied with the rotation system, where half of the students will be in the classroom while the remainder will be present virtually. This system will allow the students to maintain physical distance so that admission and dismissal of students can be done in an orderly manner. At the same time, Razzie stated more than 80% of Form 5 to Form 6 students nationwide have been administered with the COVID-19 vaccine. Vaccinations for students in Form 1 to Form 5 are underway and is progressing quickly.
In a related development, Dr. Razzie Jidin have made a clear statement that unvaccinated teachers will not partake in any face-to-face lessons. Even so, Razzie ensures that the decision will not affect learning and teaching sessions conducted in schools or at home.
The restriction will be applied to some 2,000 teachers nationwide who refuse to be vaccinated. According to Razi, the ministry have identified their schools and the subjects they teach, and the likeliness of being transferred out of their school is very high. This, however, does not indicate that they are allowed to conduct face-to-face lessons in other schools. Such decision is necessary, said Razi, to ensure the post where almost all teachers who teach the same subjects are not affected. Instead, they are given other tasks to manage.
All public universities must reduce their tuition fees by 20% for the first semester of 2021/2022 academic session. This was following a reported 10 to 60% hike in tuition fees. Minister of Higher Education Datuk Seri Dr. Noraini Ahmad stressed that the fee reduction reminder has been issued to all public universities. The move is in line with the Ministry of Higher Education's continued efforts in looking after the welfare of students, especially under the #KPT Prihatin initiative. Noraini, however, did not disclose any information if any public university were caught violating the fee reduction. The motion to reduce universities' tuition fee was spearheaded by University Malaya Students' Union KMUM to prompt their university for explanation when tuition fees for 2021/2022 academic session were increased. The hike in price, as KMUM members described, were too steep and unreasonable. Now, various initiatives and programs have been introduced by the government to assist small and medium enterprises, or SMEs. No doubt that the COVID-19 pandemic for the past year has greatly impacted the SMEs financially. Therefore, both state and federal governments have implemented numerous measures to help micro businesses and SMEs to cushion the impact of COVID-19.
The initiatives are the Graduates Towards Entrepreneurship GERA and Vocational and Technical Entrepreneurs USTEV. This will be given through the Sarawak Kusayang Special Aid, or BKSS 1.0 to 7.0, with a total of 5.3 billion ringgit.
Disebabkan oleh COVID ini, jadi yang awak Ketua Menteri memutuskan kita bagi moratorium sehingga ujung tahun ini, dan termasuk juga loan yang dipinjam oleh Serikat Perusahaan Kecil dan Sederhana yang dipanggil apa tu? SRF. Oh ya. Ya, yang mendapatkan loan 500,000, dan kita di Sarawak ini kita bekerjasama dengan berapa? 9 bank 12 bank. Jadi termasuklah kita berpinjaman dengan bank-bank yang lain juga, yang pinjamannya tak lebih daripada 500,000. Jadi they are also entitled for 3.5 years interest free.
Kecemasan, boleh saya bantu?
Hello, there's been a motorcycle accident here. Maybe an elephant ran it over.
Sir, there is fire accident at the address number 5 Jalan Tembika, Shah Alam.
PGO from FRT Shah Alam, there was no fire accident here, over.
MERS 999. Use it wisely.
Kepada sesiapa yang ada cinta misteri, sila hantar cerita anda ke misteri kedai gunting @tvstv.my.
Thank you for staying with me. Now on to some global updates. The main bus terminal in Kabul is nowadays crowded as desperate residents of the city try to find their way out of the war-torn Afghanistan into some neighboring countries.
Bus drivers at the Paitak bus terminal said several families were trying to flee the capital city each day, but many could not afford the bus fare to destinations near the border cities. Underlining the economic pressures building on Afghanistan's new Taliban government, prices for staples like flour, fuel, and rice have risen, and long queues are still forming outside banks as they strictly ration withdrawals.
بعد از به قدرت رسیدن طالبان مردم بسیار سراسیمه هستند. همگی به خاطر فروختن مال خود آمده میخواین به یک شکل از کشور خارج شوند و همچنان همگی به تشویش مکتب از شخصا خودم که متعلم هستم به تشویش بسیار هستم که آینده ما چی میشه و آیا ما کدام دوباره درس خواندن میتونم به اینجا یا نه.
Some humanitarian aid has started to arrive and limited trade has returned across land borders with Pakistan, but a severe cash shortage is crippling day-to-day economic activity and decades of war have left many infrastructures in tatters. Foreign aid payments, which accounted for 40% of Afghanistan's gross domestic product, have all but stopped as the West considers how to deal with a group that, until August, led a deadly insurgency against the US-backed government. Members of a Russia-led security bloc that includes some countries adjacent or close to Afghanistan have no plans to host Afghan refugees amid the political and security crisis in the country.
Now wrapping up the Nightline, violence erupted in the streets of Mexico City on October 2nd as scores of Mexicans took to the streets to mark the 53rd anniversary of the 1968 massacre of student protesters.
Demonstrators in the Mexican capital hurled rocks and projectiles at riot police, who responded by firing tear gas to disperse the angry crowd. Police presence grew heavier as thousands of protesters took the streets chanting and raising their fists. The violence marks the anniversary of the Tlatelolco massacre in the capital. In 1968, security forces stormed a leftist student rally in Mexico City's Tlatelolco district, killing 30 to 40 people, according to officials, or as many as 300, according to right activists and witnesses. The killings took place just days before the Olympic Games in the capital, as the government tried to quell weeks of what it saw as embarrassing demonstrations by students demanding democratic reforms in authoritarian Mexico.
And that wraps up the Nightline for tonight. Thank you for tuning in. With that, I'm Handy Gui. Stay safe and have a pleasant night.